It's like the most horrific movie that's not a horror film.
That's the best way to describe it. I think it's like definitely a prime example of the scariest non-horror movie. And at one point, this was like the highest rated film on Letterboxd. And
wow.
It's not anymore. But
it came out in 1985.
1985. Yep. And
wow, that's incredible.
And this movie, it will. If this movie was a person and you were to get into a fight with it, it would beat you up and make sure you stay down. That's the best way I can describe it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Vince Salerno Podcast. This is episode 84. As always, I'm your host, Vince Salerno, and today I'm joined by one of my good friends and a frequenter of this podcast who hasn't been on in a while, but he is back today. It's film critic Tyler Banark.
Well, Vince, thank you back for having me on. It's good to finally be back with you, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man, absolutely. It's good to have another fellow Nebraskan and Catholic back on the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if I can say I'm a Nebraskan now because I actually just moved to Kansas City, but still a Nebraska boy at heart, though. So,
hey, man, I'm in Texas, but you can take the Nebraskan out of Nebraska. You can't take. Well, wait a minute.
You can take the Nebraskan out of Nebraska, but you can't take Nebraska out of the Nebraska.
Yes, there you go. I was getting tongue twisted there. All right. Yeah. All right, man. Well, yeah, glad to have you back. We're just going to talk about some current events, and Tyler is going to be on to talk specifically about something not Disney related, because frankly, I've been talking about Disney for the past couple months, and I'm a little sick of it. So as a nice little palate cleanser, we're going to talk about the Criterion Collection, something that I've known quite a bit about. Tyler probably knows even more about than I do. And just have some fun today. So first and foremost, let's get into some current events. In trailers, the first official trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was released. Now, this is particularly interesting because this movie comes out in December 14th, I believe.
Yeah, it's in December.
The marketing has not kicked in until Tuesday of this past week. And fans have been like raging on X and social media. Like, where's the trailer? Why haven't we seen the trailer? We're coming down to like months before the movie comes out and we haven't seen a trailer. And it's kind of crazy because I feel like marketing windows for movies are getting shorter and shorter. And it's like one of my nitpicks with Hollywood that they think that shorter marketing windows are a surefire plan for success, which, look, some of them are, honestly. Like, you build up anticipation and that could actually turn into a wider audience coming into supporting your movie. But I don't know, what do you think of that? What do you think of the marketing tactics, Tyler?
Yeah, so I think if you look back on take for example like this horror movie that came out last month called Long Legs with Nicolas Cage. I remember there was the advertising for that. I think started like more than 6 months before the film actually came out, and it really got people invested. Like, people were hyping it to be like like the scariest movie of the century, and I think if you want to go that route, I think that's perfect. But if you want to if you have like a short-term plan for your marketing, then I guess either hit or miss, I would say. Because I think I'm trying to think of a time where because I remember back in 2022 when Babylon came out, I think that the first show for that didn't drop until like three months or so before the movie came out, and I think the marketing was great for it. But or at least the trailers were, but everything else was a bit iffy. But at the same time, when people have been marketing it for more than a couple months, sometimes it can work, sometimes it doesn't. So I mean, I guess like it all depends on the movie and like what's and how much studios are putting into it.
Yeah, I think with award movies, it's kind of a different story because they're not expecting to make. I mean, sometimes they make money, but they don't make award movies don't make as much money as they used to, which is another discussion. But I think like the only time I can remember like this of significance is when Solo came out and they decided to release the first trailer on like Super Bowl Sunday, and that was the first attempt. That was in February.
Yeah.
So February, March, April, May. It was like a 4-month marketing campaign, which is I guess similar to what Sonic's doing, but
yeah,
Sonic also has the benefit of not having behind the scenes production troubles and losing its director like Solo did.
Yeah. I was about to say that too. Yeah.
So it's interesting. I've always been a fan of long marketing campaigns. Like if you're a Star Wars fan and you remember when the first teaser for The Force Awakens came out, and then everything building up to that following December, like that was a whole year of building.
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, the box office speaks for itself. I mean, I think that was a incredible marketing campaign. Say what you want about Disney these days, they know how to market their movies.
Oh, definitely.
But more to the movie itself. Tyler, what's your opinion on the Sonic movies in general? Are you a fan? Have you checked them out? What's your thoughts?
I actually have not seen the first two Sonic movies, but I did add them to my watch list because of this new one. And the main reason why I have any interest in this new one is because they got Keanu Reeves playing Shadow, which I heard that I was like, that actually might be something special. And then we see, and then the trailer comes out, and I'm like, heck yes! He seems to be. He looks like I think he's gonna kill it. I honestly he's gonna kill it. And from what I've seen so far with the Sonic movies, like the first one was okay, the second one was better, and like the fact that they got like the talent they have behind it too, like Ben Schwartz, who's been doing a great job as Sonic from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Idris Elba as Knuckles, I've heard he's been quite a riot with it, especially since he got his own miniseries on Paramount Plus for it. And now that they got Keanu Reeves to play Shadow, I think this movie could be this could be another step up for the Sonic movies, definitely.
Yeah. Don't forget Jim Carrey. I mean.
Oh, and of course, yeah.
For me personally, Jim Carrey, I don't think these movies would be as popular as they are if he wasn't playing Robotnik. It's like the closest thing we've gotten to like early to late 90s Jim Carrey, when he was like debatably at the peak of his career, turning out like banger after banger. It like with the first movie, that was part of the appeal, because I wasn't a particularly big Sonic fan ever growing up or just in general. Jim Carrey being in these movies was a big sell for me, because he hasn't been acting comedically in a long time, and this was like him his prime, I think, just like doing old-fashioned comedy Jim Carrey. And I can say that confidently for both films, and it seems like in the third one he's gonna do the same thing. But he also said he was retiring after Sonic 2, but then he comes back, so it's just it's a funny rigmarole with Jim Carrey in these movies.
Yeah, I think I'm guessing this is probably just gonna be like a one-time thing, and then if Paramount wants him back, he'll do more. But if he's not, then I think he's gonna say, okay, now I'm officially retiring. That's what I think, at least.
Yeah, well, we'll see, because there's also theories that this movie builds already sets up a fourth Sonic movie through some things, which I'm not going to get into because I'm not a Sonic lore person, but these movies are, I mean, especially when family entertainment is such a rocky at a rocky place right now. A lot of people don't know where they can trust their entertainment, especially from Disney and this culture war nonsense we're dealing with. Sonic has always been one of those franchises on the big screen that has always been tried and true. So I think families will really enjoy this. It's coming out at a perfect time, I think, during the Christmas season. And I agree with you. Ben Schwartz, he started out in Parks and Rec. I just rewatched Parks and Rec not too long ago and just remembered how endlessly funny he is. And he's got a great voice for Sonic. I know a lot of people were upset when they didn't bring back like the original voice actor, but I like his Sonic. I think he's great. And highly recommend you checking the other movies out if you want some just mindless family entertainment.
Yeah, I'm definitely planning on watching the first two at some point before the third one comes out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to comment on Shadow, I've heard from a lot of Sonic fans like Shadow is like he's like on another level as far as a Sonic character, and to have someone big like Keanu Reeves to voice him is pretty cool. And I think he's a darker character, which it seems to match the tone of the movie. I think if you've seen the first two films, they're pretty lighthearted adventure movies. This one seems to be taking everything up to another level, like as far as, you know, some characters possibly dying. Shadow, there's an allusion to Shadow having a tragic backstory. I'm not really sure what it is, but it involves some little girl dying apparently, which is horrible, but it's part of the video game lore apparently. So I'm happy for Sonic fans that they're in this time of just speaking from my friend and his love and desire to see these characters on the big screen and given justice. I'm happy for Sonic fans that they're getting what they want, and I'm happy that audiences have something non-divisive to go into the theaters too. I don't know anyone who's looking forward to Mufasa at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see which one comes out on top. Are you? I'm sorry. Are you looking forward to Mufasa?
Just a little bit. I mean, that's a conversation for another day. But I, as someone who loves Lion King, especially like the animated one, you know, I think that the whole concept of it is really interesting. But again, like we don't have to get into that.
Sure.
Another day, but yeah,
I'll give you that. Like for Lion King fans who get new Lion King content, that's pretty exciting. Like I know people who would probably say the same thing to me when Toy Story 4 came out, but like, hey, I'm a Toy Story fan and I love my Toy Story, and I am absolutely looking forward to Toy Story 5. Okay. Well, let's move on to another current event. So apparently, according to Cosmic Book News, Taika Waititi is out on Star Wars. He is not going to be directing his movie, which I kind of figured after things not happening with that and just the chaos at Lucasfilm right now. But this is I'll read some of this article. This is a report from Cosmic Book News, exclusive. Taika Waititi, Star Wars not happening, booted from Thor, meaning Thor 4. So this is kind of a behind-the-scenes rumor that Waititi was booted from Thor 4 while they were in post-production. Kevin Feige and Marvel executives had to take over the film and try to piece together what they could without him because it was such a mess behind the scenes, which I haven't seen Thor 4. I'm sure I'll get around to it at some point, but based on what I've heard from people who've seen it and didn't like it, it seems like a likely story. This also adds up to rumors that, well, not rumors, it's been confirmed that Leslie Headland was booted from Lucasfilm, and the Acolyte's not the Acolyte's not getting renewed for season 2 because just people did not like that show. It was highly divisive, and just continuing Disney's downward trend of wokeness. I'll give it they shot this show years ago, and it was probably a better financial decision to release it, cut their losses, than to scrap it altogether. Anyways, Tyler, have you seen Thor: Love and Thunder?
I have seen Thor: Love and Thunder. I give it 3.5 out of 5 when I saw it. I do agree that like I do see that where I did see where like people got the turn off on it and how, you know, the goofiness or how dumb it kind of was. But I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was like the worst thing in the world. But I thought it was still good. flaw here and there, but other than that, it wasn't too bad. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. I mean, I hope there's not another Thor movie in the works, but it sounds like there might be, and if there is, it sounds like Taika Waititi might not be attached to it. But yeah, I mean, that's where I stand on Thor: Love and Thunder.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think based on what I've known, because I knew that there was like there were reports when the movie was coming out that there was production troubles behind the scenes, or at least post-production troubles behind the scenes, and Taika Waititi alluded to like it being a mess, and I think that might have been Marvel jumping the gun on Taika Waititi. Like when he made Ragnarok, the plan was to make a Ragnarok movie, and they brought in a director to bring their own spin on that story. And some say it's the best Thor movie ever. Some say it's not. I'm somewhere in the middle where it's a really good movie. It's a really good Thor movie. I don't know if it's the best one in my opinion. But I think Thor 4 was was them thinking Taika Waititi, really pulled Thor out of the doldrums because he wasn't really the most popular MCU character, and they gave him something really kind of exciting in the vein of like what's that movie? Big Trouble in Little China. I know is a big influence, which I can definitely feel, and is the appeal of Ragnarok. But Love and Thunder seemed to be like, okay, Taika Waititi, here's Thor 4, go do what you want. And then he just turned in kind of a mess of a movie. And I don't know. I have kind of I don't have the greatest opinion of Taika Waititi. I think he's done some good movies. I haven't seen any of his later works like Jojo Rabbit or Next Goal Wins. I also know that his personal life is highly questionable, but I'm not going to judge per se. I just think that I think he can be a bit of a hit or miss director, and the fact that he approached Thor with such a interesting tactic that can be construed as unprofessional is probably why he was pushed out of the editing room for Thor 4, and why he's not being asked back to do Thor 5, which I think Thor 5 is only to appease fans that were not happy with Thor 4, and to appease Chris Hemsworth, who was not happy with the direction the character's taken. Because I think he wants Thor 5 to be a darker movie. So if it does the job of like rounding out his journey as Thor and giving him like a high note to go out on, I say let him have one more. But specifically on, sorry, I'll let you comment.
You're good. I think so. I think with Taika Waititi, I mean, I can kind of see where like he had. It seemed like to me there was a period of time where like he was like where people like were like were really hyping him up, and like people were like were really enjoying him, and then like within the past year or two, like he's kind of declined, and like people's interest in him has declined. Because I remember last year, I went to the world premiere of Next Goal Wins at Toronto last year, and like I remember on my screen for it, like the crowd was really into it, but I heard every screening after the premiere of that movie, everyone was like, it was more I don't know if I want to say crickets, but like it was more like not as like as big and like
not as engaged.
Exactly. But yeah, no, I see where people get it from. I'm kind of in the middle on him right now, but yeah, I mean, that's just all I was gonna say, and that's
sure, yeah. So specifically talking on Lucasfilm, obviously they are a sinking ship right now. They have not produced a good movie, debatably since Rogue One, and don't even get me started on Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Oh my gosh, what an absolute freaking disaster. One of these days I'm going to make a video essay on Indiana Jones 5, and I'm absolutely going to rage because what a disaster. It's so easy to make an Indiana Jones movie. And whether it's Kathleen Kennedy's fault or Mangold, who I love as a director, no one wants to see a 70-year-old Indiana Jones going on a journey to come out of his depression. Sorry, I said I need to stop, or else I'm gonna keep going, and we're gonna turn this into an Indiana Jones 5 rage fest. But anyways, no, Lucasfilm's just been in a really crazy situation where just they haven't produced anything good. The Star Wars brand, which I know you're not huge into, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt on that. The Star Wars brand has just been tainted beyond reason. Acolyte was terrible. Audiences did not like it. And the cast and the crew just came out with very interesting bias against the audience, which is never a good idea. You never root against your audience, even if they're wrong. I mean, the only way that situation gets fixed if Kathleen Kennedy leaves, and I'd like to think this didn't come from Kathleen Kennedy. I like to think that Taika Waititi was let go by Disney itself, because Disney is trying to clean ship with Lucasfilm, and Kathleen Kennedy is a figurehead in that place. She's not really in charge right now. I don't know. I know you're not a big Star Wars fan, but just from a knowing these facts and these things about Taika being removed from Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy not performing as a CEO of the company, what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I think obviously from what I've heard, it seems like everything Star Wars has done in the past, everything Star Wars related in the past, like since 21 or 22, has been not up to what Lucasfilm was thinking it was going to be. Especially when we look at more than just the Acolyte. When we look at Mandalorian season 3 or Book of Boba Fett or Ahsoka, or all those shows, like they weren't like I don't know how what the reactions truly were, but I can tell that they weren't what the studio thought it was going to be. And
I will say I thought Ahsoka was some of the best Star Wars we've gotten in years, but I'm probably in the minority on that camp.
Okay. But yeah, in terms of like a bunch of stuff like Indiana Jones 5, when the only non-Star Wars thing Lucasfilm was done the past couple recently, I thought it was okay. It wasn't necessary. But yeah, like I mean, Lucasfilm has like they're in a drought right now, and I think they're probably in a worse drought than Pixar or Disney is. But if any of those branches needs a bounce back, it's probably Lucasfilm. And I don't know what that would look like. I don't know, but they definitely are in a bigger hole than some of the other other fields at over there.
Right. Yeah. I've covered Disney quite a bit in the past months because they've been in the news recently. I actually got a scoop last week about some behind the scenes information about Moana 2 last week that basically we've kind of been led to believe that Moana 2 has been like a more questionable kind of negative situation where Disney out of desperation greenlit Moana 2, but it's actually seems more of a confirmation that like logic and reason is still alive and well at Disney, and that they canceled a movie that was supposed to come out that was not working. There was a female director. It was far too woke for audiences to get behind, and they greenlit Moana 2, or they decided to turn Moana the Disney Plus series into Moana 2, the theatrical film, to fill that slot and give audiences something that they're actually going to get behind, especially after Wish underperformed and Strange World underperformed. Anyways, all that's to say, I won't regurgitate all that, but basically there are signs that Disney is waking up to what the culture is telling them, and that change is coming, and that we will hopefully be in another golden era of Disney to come. I mean, the D23 slate got me a little excited. I'm not going to lie. Like another Tron movie, another Toy Story movie, Incredibles 3. I know it's all sequels and remakes and reboots, but hey, if we have to get like an apology tour from Disney before we can get some good original content, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I agree. And I heard like this week with live action Snow White coming out in March. That's been a whole crapshoot, if I may say so. But
Disaster.
it. I mean, I might still see it, but all the signs for it are leading towards like probably to be the biggest fallout of all like the apologies like fallouts we might have with Disney. Snow might be the biggest one because it's like the movie that started it all might be the one to end it all. Like I heard someone say that in a video I watched this week, which I mean, like, and I think that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting to see, how that movie performs given all the stuff that's happened leading up to it.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, I think it's going to bomb. no major speculation or like ifs and ifs. I think it's going to bomb. It's been tainted by reshoots. It's been tainted by Rachel Zegler, who I think is a great actress. She just needs to keep her mouth shut about these things, especially when she's promoting a family film. Free speech and all that, I'm all for that. But when it comes to promoting your movie and you associate yourself with negativity on that end, like,
it's a big turnoff.
It's a big turnoff. Yeah, I don't care what political spectrum you're on. It's a big turnoff. It's just like people just want to go and have a good time. They don't want to talk about Palestine and Gaza and Ukraine and all that stuff. They just want to go and watch Snow White.
Yeah,
Snow White.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she shouldn't. I don't think she should have been casted in the first place. But that's another discussion. But I'll say this really quick, and we can move on. But I said this before that Disney right now is offloading their content, a lot of their more woke content, because it's a lot of this stuff has been in the pipeline since like 2021, 2022, I think. They need to offload it and get this new stuff in that's hopefully going to be more audience positive. And so we're going to have to expect some crap from Disney, Snow White included, for at least 2 years. This is going to take a while if Disney is really on the verge of restructuring their company to be just get away from wokeness and politics and all that. It's going to take 2 years to restructure the company, according to Chris Gore. But if it happens and Disney gets back on track, then I will be the first person to celebrate it. I'm not one of those people that thinks Disney needs to die and we need to just do away with Disney. I get so many people who say like, oh, I don't mourn the loss of Disney. Like, I do. I love Disney. I don't want Disney to go away. I want Disney to change. I want Disney to be the company it once was, and
exactly
be the pioneers of storytelling they've always been, and get out of this divisiveness in the culture war, and like exit the culture war and get back to just helping us escape the hard times that we're in. Not just now, but just in general, like the hard times we all go through. Disney has always been about escaping, and when you leave the theater, you feel like, life ain't that bad.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We'll see what happens with that. But I don't wish ill will on Taika Waititi, but I don't think he has. I do agree with you that he's kind of been talked up a little more than he's been given a little more street cred than I think he's deserved, and so I hope he has a successful career going forward should he deserve it. But if what he did with Thor Love and Thunder is how he directs all his movies, then I don't think he should be touching Star Wars.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into this last article before we get into our discussion about Criterion. I thought this was an interesting article from Variety. Francis Ford Coppola didn't want Metropolis to be some, quote, woke Hollywood production, says the cast includes people who were canceled. And I won't read the whole article, of course, but it just gets into the fact that he has controversial people, whatever that means, like Jon Voight and Shia LaBeouf on his movie, but he also has people like Adam Driver and Aubrey Plaza and Giancarlo Esposito, Natalie Emmanuel, Lawrence Fishburne, Dustin Hoffman. I think that's it, right? That's the main cast.
Yeah, that's like big ones. And of course, you got the Coppolas, like Talia Shire and Jason Schwartzman, who are in it as well.
Oh, of course, yeah. Oh gosh,
you got them in it
Talia
too.
Shire.
Yeah. Yeah, it was I remember reading through that, and I'm like, yeah, it's interesting for sure. But
yeah, what are your thoughts?
So I mean, it's when you have someone like Francis Ford Coppola who was responsible for making one of not the biggest film ever made in The Godfather and Godfather Part 2. I think if any actor gets a chance to work with him, they should take it. And if they've had a controversial past, I mean, so I'm always open to people changing, or like having to move on from their mistakes, and move on from their mistakes if they've made them, or even like regardless of how big or small they are. But in regards to like people like having Jon Voight and Shia LaBeouf, I mean, Jon Voight, I think from what it sounds like, he's just like he expressed support towards Donald Trump, and that kind of people turned him off for it, I feel like, and I think that's where like he kind of fell off, or that's what I've seen at least. Mm-hmm. And then Shia LaBeouf, I've heard he's been a figure of controversy for years. Like I remember hearing a couple years ago when he did "Don't Worry, Darling," he was really supposed to be in it. And then like there was speculation of whether or not he quit it or he got fired from it, and then he got replaced by Harry Styles. and so like I remember hearing about that, like that was a bit of a head scratcher, I'd say. Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard or so far about it, I've heard Shia has been like he's been one of the highlights of the movie, and like people either like this movie. People, from what I've heard so far from my friends who've seen it, they either like it a little bit or they hate it. And but regardless of how you feel about how they felt about it, they said Shia is a highlight of it for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as an outspoken conservative, I got to say, like, especially now, like, if you have a problem with an actor in a movie who supports a political candidate, like, grow up. People will either choose to be private about their politics, or they will publicly put them out there in the open, like Jon Voight and many other celebrities, and not even people who support Donald Trump. It's like, grow up. Like, we live in America. There's diversity of thought, and I don't agree with I don't agree with a certain facet of political affiliation, specifically liberals and Democrats. But I don't think liberals and Democrats are bad people. No. And if we like, I would never see another Hollywood movie again if I thought that way. I would just boycott every movie, which is not fun because look, say what you want about Hollywood. Hollywood makes great movies. And I get so frustrated when people are like, well, I don't want to. Jon Voight's a controversial person because he supports Donald Trump. Well, the same could be said about whoever they're supporting in the Democrat Party. What is it, Kamala Harris right now? Yeah. Like, gosh, grow up. Who cares? Let him be conservative. Let Alec Baldwin be liberal. I don't care. I may disagree. I may get mad in the moment because I want them to support that which is good, true, and beautiful. But gosh, grow up. Anyways, it's frustrating on that front. Mm-hmm. And as far as Shia LaBeouf goes, I mean, he's been, as you said, you made a great point. Like it's a Catholic mindset that like we need to forgive and let people have the chance to better themselves. And Shia LaBeouf has like more than done that. Like he converted to Catholicism, and I'm not saying he's had like the greatest career resurgence since. I mean, his Padre Pio movie I heard was very controversial, but the guy like found some peace in his life, and all people want to do is criticize him and just bring up something that he was accused of 5 years ago. That like, look, if it did happen, then of course shame on him. But like, if he came to Christ and his sins were forgiven, praise God.
Yeah, I mean, it also kind of makes me think back. Like, he kind of did some therapy when he made Honey Boy, but
and like, I'm sure that was very therapeutic.
Like, oh yeah, because like you saw that movie, didn't you?
I haven't, no, but I wanted to. It's been on my list for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I mean, props to Francis Ford Coppola for just like pushing through the bull crap of Hollywood and just being like, look, I want to work with certain actors and kind of be an example for what Hollywood could be, which is just a beacon for all people of all walks of life. Doesn't matter where you fall on the political spectrum. Doesn't matter what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you denounce your past, move on with your life. Let's all come together and make great stuff. And I mean, the mixed reception from Megalopolis. Thank you. The mixed reception aside, it gets me excited to see that like he's not gonna listen to like normal Hollywood tactics and like just cast people of a certain political demographic, because it's just ridiculous. I love that like we get to see a movie where Jon Voight and Adam Driver and Aubrey Plaza and Dustin Hoffman and all these people who I don't even like. When I go into a movie like this, I'm not thinking about people's political affiliations. I'm just thinking about, look at this amazing cast.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, I get excited when Chris Pratt, a pronounced Christian, is leading a movie, but I'm not going because I'm not going because Chris Pratt's a Christian. I'm going because he's a good actor and just so happens to be a Christian. Like, it's just, this actually makes me more excited to go see the movie. It's I mean, again, mixed reception aside, because like, look, it's Francis Ford Coppola. Like, we don't even know if he's going to make another movie after this. This could be his last movie. It probably will be, honestly. And God bless him for getting the chance to make it. And I hope it at least for like the awards, it would be the most exciting thing to happen to the Oscars, at least for me. I've just been very turned off by last year was good, I guess. Last year was good. But anyways, I just hope that like Hollywood and they probably won't, but I hope people in Hollywood see that statement and lead by example with that.
I'm excited. I'm so excited to see it too, just because like it's also like the first movie we've seen from him in like 13 years, I want to say. Yeah. And everything I've heard about it is like it's a pretty wild movie, and he really goes like all in and all out for it, and I love it when filmmakers do that.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of the last great filmmakers out there, and he's he deserves to if this is his last movie. I mean, you know, Lord have mercy, please let him live long enough to make another movie if he wants to. But if he gets if this is his last movie, like, let's use this opportunity to praise his storied career and not just be like, oh, he made a dud or whatever.
Yeah. So did you hear about the there was a trailer for it that dropped recently, and how they pulled quotes. Well, they pulled quotes from reviews for like some like bad reviews for like some of his other good movies. Yeah. And they ended up having to pull it because like they were fabricated.
Yeah, like, they were AI generated, right?
I don't know if they're AI generated, but like they might have been pulled from like other reviews, but from like different movies. But like,
that's like, right.
Before like the news of that broke, and seeing that in the trailer, I'm like, wow, he knows, like, Ford Coppola knows their kind of reaction that Megalopolis has gotten so far, and he's facing it head on. But then you get, then you get, the quotes used in the movie aren't factual. And
wasn't one of them from like Batman '89? I
think so. I think it was.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I think I'm not going to put that on Coppola. I'm sure that was more so the marketing agency, the marketing campaign that was like, this is a great idea. And of course, I think people, I'm sure they could have found real quotes from people who didn't like his movies, because I'm sure he wasn't necessarily the most beloved figure back then. I mean, he's one of the people who like revolutionized filmmaking in the 70s. Yeah, he would have absolutely been seen as controversial coming up into Hollywood. So it's weird. Like, you really couldn't have found any negative comments from those movies, like real comments.
Yeah, it's weird. And especially because I know for a fact like there had been someone out there in 1972 and 1988 crapping on The Godfather and Apocalypse Now, and like the fact that like they wouldn't if they couldn't find an actual quote from someone who didn't like it, then I mean at least like up to that and not like copy someone else's negative quotes for another movie and pawn it off as
I mean, heck, they should have just like used that opportunity to be like, from the legendary filmmaker who brought you The Godfather Part 2, Apocalypse Now, some of the most celebrated movies in all of cinema now. That maybe were controversial back then, but yeah, that's very, very interesting. That'll go down in history as one of the most jarring marketing campaigns in the history of the world. History of cinema. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay, briefly, because I'm such a huge fan of Aardman, there was a Wallace and Gromit Vengeance Most Fowl teaser clip released a couple days ago introducing a new character who is supposed to be Wallace's latest and greatest invention, Norbot, a smart gnome who is supposed to have some evil machinations come up later in the movie. But Tyler, are you a fan of Wallace and Gromit? Have you seen their movies?
Yeah, so I remember watching Curse of Were Rabbit years ago. I need to revisit it because I don't remember much about it. But I was telling you right before we started recording, I watched The Wrong Trousers and a Close Shave for the first time a few months ago, and they're both pretty good. The Wrong Trousers, though, I gotta say, it had like one of the funniest 5 seconds I've seen in a long time in a movie, and it was like I said, it was when Feathers McGraw, like he's walking out of a room, and like he runs to Gromit, and he's got like the badge just goes, and then like out of nowhere he just pulls out a gun. Like I just saw that, and like I just start laughing my butt off, and like I just kept playing it over and over again, and it just gets me every time.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I love those movies, and that moment in particular is. Seeing it blind, oh my gosh, I was rolling as a kid. Those movies are great, and I'm excited that we're getting another feature film from Aardman. These are some of the most. I mean, talking about Coppola, like these are like some of the most legendary characters in all of. Oh, my son is at the door. These are some of the most legendary characters in all of cinema, and. I'm just happy that Nick Park is coming back to do another movie, a feature film, no doubt. Like I've wanted to see Wallace and Gromit 2 since I was a kid getting out of Curse of the Were-Rabbit. So it only took us like, what was 2006? Only took us like 18 years. Long time. Yeah. But I'm happy we're getting another feature film from them.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, let's move on to the main topic, the Criterion Collection.
Yes.
So Tyler and I have been talking about getting him back on the show for a while because he's a good friend of mine. Love his insights, and I didn't just want to talk about current events and Disney and all that because we talk about that all the time. And I wanted something that I want to talk about something that would be up your alley, something that would excite both of us, and something you suggested was the Criterion Collection. Now, I've done some research on the Criterion Collection over the past week. I know like what it is, I know what it's about, and I know how like beloved it is amongst film fans. But I'm curious, like where it started, where it's come from, and like the legacy behind it all. So I'm gonna just hand it off to you, Tyler. What is the Criterion Collection?
Yeah, so the Criterion Collection is basically just like it's a home video distribution company, and it focuses on kind of like restoring a bunch of classic movies or movies that when it comes classic movies, and if it's been and sometimes they'll do new releases as well, and like with those new releases they give it just kind of a special spotlight, let's say. And it's been around since about 1984. They've been around for quite some time, and like they have like every year they'll announce have a whole set of movies that they'll be adding to the collection, and sometimes they'll do even box sets too of like a certain like subgenre, or like a director's like a filmography, and they and then in every July they have partnered with Barnes and Noble, and for the whole month of July they have Barnes and Noble has their Criterion sale, which is basically every single Criterion release that a Barnes and Noble store has, everything, it's regardless of what it is, it's 50% off. And so when you and so if you're someone who's started their own Criterion Collection, or like if you're just brand new, it's a great time to start stocking up and start building that your own personal collection. And I've been doing it for a couple of years now, and I don't think I've got much, but I mean I feel like the movies I have right now, I'm proud of them, even if some of them aren't even if I love some more than others. So like. Yeah, I mean, you can do through physical DVDs, or you can, or they have what's called the Criterion Channel, which is basically like a streaming service of all the movies that are on Criterion, or that Criterion decides to do like a special program on. And I do my own Criterion Channel subscription, and it's been great.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a Criterion Channel collection. It's all Criterion's awesome. And if you haven't already gotten into it, or have interested in exploring it, I highly recommend it.
Nice. Yeah, I think it was really back as 2015. I was looking at like Criterion movies and was fascinated and interested in adding a Criterion film to my collection, but never got around to it. And I don't think I was cultured enough to know what I wanted in my collection. But yeah. I think there's also a November or a December sale, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's not as big as obviously as their Barnes and Noble's July sale, but but I think there is one that happens every at the end of every year.
Okay, cool. Yeah, maybe I'll capitalize on that and take the plunge. Now, what constitutes a Criterion movie? Because I've seen very recent movies, I think that the only thing I can think of really is they added WALL-E to the Pixar movie WALL-E to the collection, and I mean almost any Pixar movie deserves to be in the Criterion Collection, of course. If it is a mark of high stature in cinema, then of course. But I thought that was particularly interesting because that has never happened before. So what constitutes a Criterion movie, or what constitutes a movie being a Criterion film?
So in terms of how if it has to meet a certain quota, if there's a little criteria that a movie has to make, I'm not too sure, but I know there has the movie has to have some sort of cultural significance to some sort of capacity in order to be considered as part of it. I'm looking at my entire collection right here, and looking at all the movies on here, all of it has some sort of I think all the movies that I have some sort of cultural significance to it, or otherwise they either have that, or it's an indie film that didn't get a lot of attention, and Criterion decides to pick it up and say, hey, here's a movie that not a lot of people saw that we think you should check out. But I think, but in terms of WALL-E, like you said, I think it was just I think from what I heard was that someone from Pixar struck a deal with someone from Criterion where they had did a special thing where they would let one Pixar movie join the Criterion Collection, and they agreed on WALL-E to be that movie. So I think that's where that came from.
Yeah, as far as artistic excellence, I think WALL-E is up there as one of Pixar's best. So I think it definitely made sense to me when they announced that. Okay, WALL-E for sure. I mean, my bias, I'd always say Toy Story, but because I just think first Toy Story is incredible. But WALL-E for sure. I mean, as far as what I think would fit in the criteria of the Criterion Collection, that makes sense. I just hopped on their site real quick and I just put in the frequently asked questions. So I found out, okay, so how do you decide which films receive Criterion treatment? We aim to reflect the breadth of filmed expression, excuse me. We try not to be restrictive or snobby about what kinds of films are approved. or appropriate. An auteur classic, a Hollywood blockbuster, an independent B horror film, all have to be taken on their own terms. All we ask is that each film in the collection be an exemplary film of its kind. Of course, we can't just pick movies and put them out. The process of getting the rights to release a film can take years. Even if we want a film, we can't work on it unless the film's owners grant us the rights to do so. So I guess it's not as complicated as I thought. It just has to be...
Yeah.
It can be any movie. It just has to be a particularly exemplary work of its genre and of its time, I suppose, which is cool. So anything can be Criterion. And I think I've seen certain blockbusters get Criterion treatment, which is pretty cool. So let's see. You said you have your collection handy. Let's see your collection.
All right. So I'm going off in alphabetical order. So first movie I got here at the top, I have Sidney Lumet's directorial debut, 12 Angry Men. I haven't unboxed it yet, but yeah, I remember watching this, like, I don't know how long ago, a couple years ago, and it was awesome as everyone was making it out to be.
Yeah. And, now the cover art for Criterion Collection is particularly, like, that's part of the appeal, right?
Oh yes, definitely. As like you can see here, I'm guessing this probably will just be audio only, but for those who don't know, I'm going to try to explain as best I can. But
it'll be on YouTube.
Yeah, so the cover of so here we got all 12 jurors here, and then we have juror number 8 right here, who's, everyone's got a red background except for him. And as you know, the story goes, these 12 guys trying to come up with a verdict for a certain trial, and everyone seems to agree, on the same page about how they feel about it initially, except for juror number 8, this guy right here, played by, I think, Henry Fonda, I want to say.
Yeah, I think that's Henry Fonda. Yeah.
And I think it's a great symbolism as to, like, how the movie, starts and, eventually where it all goes. Because if you look at some of their faces, like, you can tell, how they are as people, especially juror number 3, who's, like, probably the most vital one outside of juror number 8. I think, 12 Angry Men is definitely guys to the list.
That's awesome, dude. I might actually... I'm thinking about what I'm going to add to what my first one will be, and it might be that, because I love 12 Angry Men. Yeah.
All right. So next up, I got a more recent one from last year, and this is Anatomy of a Fall by Justine Triet. This won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival last year, and I saw this at TIFF, and it was the very first movie I saw at TIFF last year, and it blew me away. This movie is awesome. It's like the first half is a full on, like, mystery thriller. The second half's like a full on courtroom drama, and it's really a really cool movie, and it's easily one of the best last year. And Sandra Huller, who plays the lead character in it, she gives one of my favorite performances of last year.
Sandra Bullock's in it?
Oh no, Sandra Huller. She's this I think German actress.
Sorry, I misheard.
But yeah, Anatomy of a Fall. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
Yeah, I'll put that one on my list. I know it kind of went under the radar for me last year, but I'll definitely put it on the list.
Yeah, and it won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay last year.
Right. Yeah.
So there's that. Next up, I got this 1985 film called Come and See by Elem Klimov.
Okay, I've seen clips of this on.
I think we talked about this at one point.
Yeah, you and I were talking about it, and like I've heard it's intense.
Yeah,
it's like the most horrific movie that's not a horror film.
Exactly, that's the best way to describe it. I think it's, like, definitely a prime example of the scariest non-horror movie. And at one point, this was, like, the number highest rated film on Letterboxd. And it's not anymore. But
it came out in 1985.
1985, yep. And
wow, that's incredible.
And this movie, it will, if this movie was a person and you were to get into a fight with it, it would beat you up and make sure you stay down. That's the best way I can describe it. But Come and See, if you're going to this movie cautiously, but just know, like, by the end of it, you're going to be emotionally drained. So I would just say, just keep that in mind to whoever watches this. So.
Okay.
Yep. Next up, I got Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. I think I probably bought this, like, back in 2020. And I watched it, and of course, it really was really good at the time. And Obviously, it's awesome now, and the cover art is actually really cool. Let me pull it out here. So like this is like the front cover of it. You got Sal's
nice.
Pizza, and you got Mookie right here, and then like on the back here you got Radio Raheem and Samuel L. Jackson's character in the window.
Oh, that's awesome. But, that's a cool little box set.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Do the Right Thing. Of course, I think it's definitely one of two Spike Lee movies I actually like, that and Black Klansman. But yeah, Do the Right Thing is also a really fun one.
Yeah, Black Klansman was really good up until like the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, I agree. Next one, I got Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Vince, have you seen this by chance?
It's been on my list. I haven't though.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember which, because I know there's a lot. It's a high school movie, right?
Yeah, it came out in 1982. It's got Sean Penn and Forrest Whitaker. Nicolas Cage is like in it for like a very brief scene.
Okay, I think it's been on my list. I was getting that mixed up with another movie, but I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, but Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I watched the first time, I think back in April, I want to say, and it was pretty solid. I liked it. Sean Penn is actually pretty great here. He's like the comic relief of the movie, and I think I heard somewhere that his audition for it went so bad, but that's how he got the role in it, because he had a really bad audition, and like he was walking to his car and his rice is about to leave. The casting was like came running out. I was like, "Hey, you got the part."
Wow.
Like, yeah. But yeah, it's Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
That's a cool story.
Mm-hmm. Next up, I got Christopher Nolan's The Following, his like feature film debut.
Oh, nice!
And
awesome.
Yeah, it was just the main reason I picked this one up was just because it's just it's Christopher Nolan, and if he's got a movie in the Criterion Collection, you gotta grab it.
You gotta get it. Gotta get it. I totally agree.
Yeah,
that's cool.
But yeah, so if I'm spitballing, if you want to like make like another comment, make a comment, just let me know.
Really
okay.
Quick, sticking with Following, I haven't seen it. I have to admit, but so that's the only Criterion film that made it, or that has made it so far.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I haven't seen I don't think The Dark Knight's in the Criterion Collection yet. I don't think Memento is either. The only other one I could probably imagine seeing is probably maybe Oppenheimer, but maybe that's time will tell on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that. I think Oppenheimer was, I mean, it's one of his best.
Definitely.
And I definitely think it would constitute Criterion treatment.
Yeah, I think a lot of his. I mean, he should definitely have more movies too.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, almost every. I mean, heck, I'd even say Tenet could be in the Criterion Collection.
Yeah.
Say what you want about it, but I mean, it's ambitious. It also there's the small subsect of people who have defended Tenet online and say like, "Oh, this movie's like revolutionary. It's ahead of its time." And I don't know about that, but it definitely makes me want to see it again to maybe see if there's something I missed, because I liked it. I just thought it was very confusing.
Yeah. Yeah. So next up, I got a movie that I got to admit it's a little bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. It's Mike Nichols' 1967 film, The Graduate, with Dustin Hoffman and Bancroft.
Dude, The Graduate.
It's such a great movie. Yeah, like I can remember I vaguely remember my first memory of watching this movie, but the moment I found it, I think it was just one of those things where like I was just walking through Barnes & Noble one day and just found it. I was like, you know what? Let's grab it.
Oh, so you didn't even get it during the sale?
Yeah. I don't know well, maybe I did. I'm not sure, but yeah. But I might have been also a flash sale too, because I know like sometimes I'll get an email from them saying, hey, Criterion flash sale for 24 hours, and then you buy something. Oh, cool. Yeah, nice. So like sometimes they do that. Then I got Wes Anderson's Grand Budapest Hotel. I think literally a majority of his filmography is on Criterion. So if you're a Wes Anderson fan, you gotta stock up on him.
I watched a YouTube essay not too long ago, and someone they were talking about like the significance of Criterion and like how it's the difference between like buying like your average DVD of Fantastic Mr. Fox versus buying the Criterion of Fantastic Mr. Fox. My first thought was, I need Fantastic Mr. Fox Criterion in my collection.
Yeah, the artwork for
might be my favorite Wes Anderson film next to Moonrise Kingdom.
Yeah, I know for the cover art for a lot of Wes Anderson's movies that are on Criterion are very significant too, and I've heard Fantastic Mr. Fox probably has the coolest one, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That might be my first pick. I mean, you're making it very hard to decide what my first pick will be, but
yeah,
because you're picking a lot of movies that I like. So
yeah. So next up, we got Inside Llewyn Davis by the Coen Brothers. This was actually Oscar Isaac's breakout role. I bought this recently, and I watched it for the first time, and I thought it was pretty good. But I think I'm going to rewatch this again at some point, and when I do, I have a feeling that it might shoot up my Coen Brothers list, I'd say.
Nice.
But yeah, Inside Llewyn Davis is a great one too. Then I got Martin Scorsese's Mean Streets.
Cool.
I love that artwork.
That's the cool artwork, yeah.
Yeah. And I love Taika Waititi. It's go to church on Sunday, go to hell on Monday. That's
yikes.
I think that's really solid.
Yeah. That's what I would agree. That's one of his best movies.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. I only got about 1, 2, 3. I got 6 more. So I promise it's almost over with. But
no, you're good, man. You're good.
Cool. Next up, I got Bong Joon-ho's Memories of Murder. Probably like the film that got him become a big name director, at least in South Korea. And the ending for it was I think it was the biggest the big moment in it where it's I don't know, have you seen Memories of Murder by Jason
I haven't,
Vince?
no. I have to say the only Bong Joon-ho movie I've seen is Parasite.
Okay. You gotta get on top of his filmography because the rest of it is really good. But Memories of Murder, be sure you to be on the lookout for that.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
Pay attention to it. So
maybe I'll binge through his content before Mickey 17.
Yeah.
If it even comes out next year.
Yeah, I hope so. That's been my most. I've been anticipating that movie for who knows how long, especially since this will be his first movie since Parasite.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. This next one I got is Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. It's a Japanese film from 1983. It stars David Bowie and Tom Conti. I watched this for a Japanese film class when I was in college, and I enjoyed it a lot. And it's easily the best movie I saw in that class. And the movie itself is also really, really cool. And
is it actually a Christmas movie?
A little bit, I'd say, but it's definitely more so. It's a war movie, but I think it's open for interpretation as to whether or not it's a Christmas movie, kind of like Die Hard or Edward Scissorhands.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's got one of my favorite theme tunes of all time. I'd say I'd throw that out there.
Okay, cool. I love a good theme tune. I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah. Then I got a couple of Alfred Hitchcock movies, Notorious and Rebecca. Both pretty good films. I think I like Notorious more, I want to say. But yeah, they're both very good flicks, especially since Rebecca is the only one where he got Best Picture. Then of course I got Wall-E, which I think is a really cool. Yeah, I mean, I love it. I love the artwork for this one because they don't have Wall-E and Eve as Wall-E and Eve. They literally have Wall-E as a box.
Trash.
And he's got a spatula for hand. Meanwhile, Eve is just straight up a trash can. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I love that cover art. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then
Andrew
my last
Stanton,
one,
the soon to be Toy Story 5 director.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Maybe also, he'll make a Toy Story movie worthy of the Criterion Collection. Yeah,
and also really quick, one thing I will say about Wall-E is that I think the Thomas Newman's piece "Define Dancing," which is it's that music that's played when Wall-E and Eve are floating around space.
Oh yeah,
I think that's probably one of the better score pieces come out of a Pixar movie, even better than "Married Life" by Michael Giacchino from Up. I would say.
Yeah, the whole score for Wall-E is phenomenal. I'd have to say it definitely. It's unexpected. That first tune that when you first see Wall-E and the titles card comes out, the do 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 do. It's not what you'd expect from a movie like that or a Pixar movie.
Yeah, or like especially if you're like, it's just they incorporated like Hello Dolly, like the way they did that. Like it's you would not expect that either from a Pixar movie either.
Yeah, as we're talking about it, it makes more and more sense why they picked WALL-E.
Yeah.
All right, and then deserves it.
Yeah, and then my last one is a movie from 2018 that I think is one of the most underrated movies of not just last decade but of all time. Is Wildlife, starring Carey Mulligan and Jake Gyllenhaal, and directed by Paul Dano. This movie,
Paul Dano directed that.
Yeah, Paul Dano directed it, and
cool.
And he wrote it, I believe, with Zoe Kazan, who I think is like his partner or wife. And it's basically about a family that lives in Montana, like in the 50s or 60s. And the dad of the family, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, he abandons his family to go fight some wildfires. And you kind of see the movie from their teenage son's perspective, and how like he kind of sees how like his parents kind of kind of like either descent into like not being the best parents in the world. But it's a great family drama and easily one of the best of the last decade, in my opinion.
Cool. So that's the collection.
That's the collection. But yeah, Vince, nice. Let me ask you this. So if you had your own like Criterion Collection, like if you had like your own movies that you would want to throw in there, like, or if you wanted to add to the collection, what would you pick?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, as I will stand by this, I will definitely say I think the first Toy Story deserves a spot in there, or even Toy Story 3. I mean, I know.
Yeah.
I bounce between all of them, whether which one's the best one. But I think the first movie for its significance in animation history, and probably the third one just because it's objectively the best one.
Yeah.
I would say maybe The Dark Knight deserves a spot. Now, I'm not a big Dark Knight fan, but I definitely think it constitutes being in there.
Okay.
I think Howard Hawks' Rio Bravo. It's one of my favorite westerns with John Wayne, Dean Martin, Walter Brennan. I think that movie deserves to be in there, especially given the discussion and like when that movie came out. It was a response to, I think it was a response to High Noon, because it was about a cowering sheriff who didn't want to face criminals that were terrorizing the town. And then Rio Bravo is a response to that. And like, no, it's this tough, strong man who comes in and he's defending the town, and he's only choosing to have help from other people when his back's up against the wall. It's a phenomenal movie if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Is Drive in Criterion Collection?
I don't think so, but I do agree that it should be in there.
Yeah, Drive's one of my. I haven't seen it in years, but it's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, it's my favorite 2011.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that definitely deserves a spot in the Criterion Collection. And you know what? This might be a controversial pick, but I'm gonna put it out there. I think Barbie should be in the Criterion Collection.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you saw. I saw Barbie a couple weeks ago. I actually really liked it. I was not expecting to like it at all, and I thought it was really good. And I thought it kind of was unfairly swept under the culture war discussion when it really doesn't have anything to do with, like, I don't know, feminism or men or I don't know, bashing men or anything like that. I thought it was very funny, like the portrayal of Kens and all that, and like I was laughing at or cowling at the Godfather joke, because like I've sat Kate down. I can't probably at least once or twice to watch The Godfather, and that's what we do. We want to explain this super rich and in-depth movie to women, and they don't get it, and it's hilarious. Speaking of which, is the Godfather in the Criterion Collection?
I have not seen, or I don't think I've seen like any. I don't think I've seen it anywhere in like either in Barnes and Noble or on Criterion.com. So I don't think it might be, or I don't think it is.
I'm gonna look it up real quick.
But if it's not, I agree. It should be in there too. If it's not.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't look like it is, but that's okay. Definitely should be.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones that kind of come off the top of my head. But yeah, definitely one of the Toy Stories. Drive, Rio Bravo. Those are like the top 3 that come to mind. Yeah, good question. Okay, so I know that these movies are known for their bonus features.
Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite? What can be expected when you buy a Criterion movie as far as bonus features are concerned? And what are some of your favorite bonus features you've come across?
So I would say, I mean, I haven't delved too much into the bonus features of these movies, but I know that when you get a movie, like it'll have like a little booklet inside of it that kind of like gives you like a little fun walkthrough of the world that the movie inhabits. Like I know my cousin loaned me his copy of a Criterion copy of Dazed and Confused, and it had and I remember reading through the booklet of it. And it talked about how like it had like each page of it had like was about a certain character in that movie and like what they're into and what like kind of like they aspire to be and it was just so it was really cool reading that. I know Do the Right Thing. I think it has a little Do the Right Thing has a massive little book in here, just of stuff. Kind of talking about just like basically just talking about like. How the movie was made and how Spike Lee was able to capture the whole nature of the movie and how it all takes place on this hot summer day and how racial tensions are like super high in Bedford Stuyvesant in Brooklyn, which like I think that's where he is from. I want to say I might be wrong on that, but yeah, like it's more so just gives like a full in depth as to like what went into the process of making the movie and any little idiosyncrasies that or fun stuff that with the characters. So like, I think that's like the main thing behind all the bonus features, special features, and the booklets with these movies.
Nice. Is Babbitt's Feast in Criterion Collection?
What's that?
Is Babbitt's Feast? Is that in the Criterion Collection?
Babbitt's Feast. I've never heard of that movie.
Oh, really? Oh, it's phenomenal. It's a pretty. I only saw it once for film school, but it's about this woman who it's like this. I think she's like a peasant woman or something, and she's asked to make this feast for this family, and they're not expecting good things from her, and then she like blows them all away. I think it's supposed to be about like classism and stuff like that.
I looked it up, and yes, Babbitt's Feast is in the Criterion Collection. So
okay, well, I have a very difficult decision to make, but I have to see which one I'm going to pick up first, if it's even at my local Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well. Yeah, Tyler. Thank you for the crash course on the Criterion Collection. I feel like I'm a little more engaged in the conversation, and you've actually got me really excited to pick up my first edition, hopefully soon.
It's awesome. Well, thank you for letting me just ramble on about everything. That I know that was probably a lot, but I mean,
no, it was just great.
It's Criterion's awesome, and I think if another thing I would recommend for people doing is Criterion Collection has a YouTube channel, and every so often they'll have celebrities go into what was called the Criterion Closet.
Oh yeah,
and they'll pick out certain movies that are in it, and they'll discuss like why they love a movie so much. And at the very end, like they'll have like they'll serve like 10 seconds to like the whole list of all the movies that celebrity picked. I know Michael Shannon's done one recently. Iowa Debris did one. I think Ethan and Maya Hawke had one, I think, a couple months ago.
I just watched that one. They were promoting Wildcat, and I saw that yesterday. Their banter's so fun.
Yeah, and then I think Channing Tatum and Zoe Kravitz, I think, did one recently, I think. I haven't watched it, but I think they did one too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Really quick, what's your favorite Criterion piece in your collection?
My favorite one? That's a tough one, I must say. I I'd say it's probably, honestly, I think it's a toss-up between Come and See, The Graduate, and Wildlife. It's just like the movie itself. But I'd say like it's between it's a merry-go-round between those three, I'd say.
Gotcha. Cool. Mm-hmm. All right, man. Well, hey, thank you for being on. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. If people want to follow you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Tyler Banark Reviews Movies. You can also check out the site right for it, which is the Cinema Dispatch. You can find that on Instagram, or you can follow our site at cinemadispatch.com. And you can also check me out on at the League of Cinephiles on YouTube. And you can also find us on Instagram at TLOC, TLOC _productions _. So I got to give a shout out to those guys. And of course, my buddy Alex Helmer, who runs TLOC Productions, he just wrapped filming his first feature film called A Christmas Party. And I'm really excited to see what he's got in store for that. And he's got another short film that's also going to be released soon. So be on the lookout for all that. And of course, like I said, I'll be coming to Toronto this year. So expecting a lot of TIFF related content for the Cinema Dispatch.
Nice. Maybe we'll have to have you back on. You can talk about your findings at TIFF.
Oh yeah, I would love that.
Sweet, man. All right. Well, again, Tyler, thanks for being on. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, you can follow me, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the places in the description of this episode. Subscribe to this channel if you want to follow more episodes of the Vince Salerno Podcast. And of course, you can follow on Apple and Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a fantastic day. God bless, and peace out.